Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you are in. We are so glad that you are here with us today. My name is Idit Klein. I am the Vice President for Public Engagement at the New Israel Fund. It is absolutely amazing to me that we were able to make this program happen for today, gathered together with Aziz Abu Sarah, Mika Almog, and Maoz Inon, because today we celebrate the publication of Aziz and Maoz's book, The Future is Peace, A Shared Journey Across the Holy Land. So Aziz and Maoz, on behalf of all of us at the New Israel Fund, a most heartfelt congratulations, Mazal Tov, Mabruk, on this truly extraordinary achievement, which all of you will get to hear much more about soon. It's also powerful for us to gather today because today is Yom HaShoah, a day we remember the murder of 6 million Jews, a day we honor those who resisted and those who survived. As the granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, I was introduced early on to the responsibility of memory. From a young age, I thought so much about what it could mean to deny someone's humanity to such an extent, to hate with such force, that total destruction and devastation could be the only outcome. And so from a young age, I understood the responsibility of memory as the responsibility both to remember the colossal tragedy of our past and to work every day for a more just, humane present and future for all people. That is what I carry with me every day. That is what I carry with me into my work at the New Israel Fund, as together we advance peace, equality, and democracy in Israel, as we insist that there is a better way, there is a better day. It is possible. In just 1 week, Israel will mark Yom HaZikaron, a day of mourning for fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism. And the immediate next day is Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel's Independence Day, a day of celebration for many, a day that is bittersweet for others, and for others, a day that is just bitter. And for Palestinians, this same time is the Nakba, marking the period of catastrophic dispossession, dislocation, and loss. These overlapping days can make it feel as though we must choose. And certainly we live in a world now in which there are so many voices telling us all the time. I hear it, and I imagine you hear it too. They are telling us, you have to choose. You have to choose one story, one voice, one loyalty. Who do you mourn with? Whose story do you recognize? Whose pain do you hold? Pick one. But at NAF, we reject these choices. At NAF, we mourn with more than one people. At NAF, we recognize the same story can hold celebration and grief. And we believe that when you hold another's pain, we are both strengthened. Today, you will hear from 3 speakers who also reject these false binaries. Instead, they have chosen a path of empathy. They have chosen to recognize multiple narratives and insist on our shared humanity. They remind us that grief does not have to divide us. It can be the beginning of something else altogether, imagining a future of collective safety, a future of peace. Aziz Abu Sarah, Maoz Inon, and Mika Almog have each taken part in the joint Israeli-Palestinian memorial ceremony, led by Combatants for Peace and the Parent Circle, an event that NAF has been proud to support for many years, as we do this year on April 20th. And on April 30th in Tel Aviv, Aziz, Maoz, and Mika will participate in the It's Time Peace Summit, which Mika will really be taking a huge part in leading. It's a gathering of over 70 organizations working together to rebuild and reimagine a peace movement. NAF is so proud to support this initiative as well. We've supported it from its earliest days 3 years ago, when NIF's own Tommy Yakira helped launch it. And today, we're so honored that content director Mika Almog is here with us, and you'll hear more from her as well. So The Future is Peace is the title of Aziz and Maoz's book. And it is also a call to action for all of us. That is why we at NIF are so proud to share with you today, and you are the first to hear this, that today we are launching a months-long extensive partnership with Aziz and Maoz to bring them to Jewish communities nationwide across the United States through in-person and online events to share their vital message. So before we start, I want to ground us in the questions that bring us together and that will frame our conversation today. What does it look like to take grief, personal or national, and turn it into a driving force for reaching peace? How can we turn despair and grief into action and hope? How do we end this endless cycle of violence, seemingly endless? How do we end it? And how do we build a new reality in its place, a future in which all can live in safety and dignity? It is truly an honor to be joined today by three people who are not only living these questions, but actively shaping the answers. A reminder to everyone on the Zoom that this call today is recorded, and there will be time for some of your questions towards the end, so feel free to use the Q&A function for your questions. So I'd like to start by bringing Aziz and Maoz into the conversation. And again, congratulations again on the publication of your book, which I'm so glad we see right between the two of you on the screen. So in your book, The Future is Peace, you put together your own personal stories with the stories of so many others from across the region. It's really a book of multiple narratives and multiple concepts. And yet I want to ask you, what would you say is the most fundamental core idea that you want people to take from your book?
Wow, first Idit, and hi everyone, and of course Mika, and we would like to thank NIF for partnering with us. You are our natural partner, and for all of you listening, as someone who's been working on the ground in Israel to create a shared life between Jews and Arabs for the last 20 years, again, I have the privilege to thank NIF and all the supporters here for the amazing work you are doing. There is no better place you can put your resources, your time, your energy, and your money than NIF. And I'm saying it for a long time, and now I have the honor to say it publicly and here with you today. And today is it's exciting day for us. And after the Daily Show last night, if you haven't watched it yet, so it's already on YouTube. It's a moment of huge excitement for us. And we are talking to you from Penguin Random House Crown headquarters on Broadway, New York City. And exactly 2 years ago, after Aziz and I opened the TED convention in Vancouver, Canada, we were approached by Douglas Abrams, whom we never met before, and he told us, "You must write a book together and you're going to do it with me." And we didn't know what he's talking about and who is he. But 2 months after, we were signed by Crown, the most prestigious publishing house in the US, one of in the world probably. And it cannot be a better closure for those 2 last years where both Aziz and I invested so much time and energy in co-authoring The Future is Peace, and to be here with you in this beautiful New York morning day. Our book is an invitation. It's an invitation to all of you, our readers, to join us on a shared journey across the Holy Land. A shared journey where we are visiting 8 different places. Each place is taking part in is one chapter. Each chapter is taking place in a different location, so it's 8 days shared journey, where together we'll share many stories from the biblical time, mythology, history, from our personal life, and for the people we meet, and of the future. And those stories will transform you like they transformed us, and allowing us to create healing from trauma and from pain, to transform revenge into reconciliation and despair into hope. So I think there are many core messages in the book, but one of them is a reminder that each one of us has the agency to shape the future. And I think this is exactly where the values of the NIF and ours are aligned, that we believe and we know that we are the one that will shape the future we all deserve to live within. And again, thank you for inviting us today, and thank you for this partnership.
Um, Thank you so much for both your kind words about NIF and for starting to walk us through your powerful book. So perhaps I'll turn to Aziz next to speak to kind of one of the really painful threads, but ultimately uplifting threads in the book, which is how you both describe the way in which you are able to start from a place of grief and move from that grief into shared connection, shared empathy, commitment to humanity, and ultimately to a shared vision of the peace that is possible. Can you tell us a bit about how that has happened? Because I think that for many people out there, that is both incredibly inspiring to hear about and perhaps feels a bit out of reach.
Yeah, and I hope it doesn't feel out of reach for anybody because in reality, it's a terrible idea to wait until you lose somebody and you go through a tragedy to understand that wars and conflicts and violence and massacres and all of that is a terrible idea. One should not have to suffer to realize that. And the problem, I think, in today's world is we kind of feel we exceptional, we invincible, we are different. It's not gonna hit me. It's not gonna happen to me. And in reality, none of us are immune from this. And even if you're immune of the violence itself, your mental health is not immune. Your humanity is not immune. People are losing who they are as humans, as people, as if you are subjected to so much hate and so much violence and so much fear, it changes who you are. And we can definitely see that all around us, not only in Israel and Palestine, but we can see it all around the world. So the two of us have come from families that lost family members. Maoz lost his parents. I lost my brother in this conflict. And what brought us together is our understanding that you can lose a family member. It doesn't mean you lose your sanity, and it doesn't mean you lose your humanity, and it doesn't mean you lose your understanding of how to move forward. And so that's really what made us come together. And we're not unique in this. Through writing the book, we've met with people who've also lost and lost even more than us. And this is not a competition. But people who, like we met with Abdurrahim Abu Warda from Gaza, who lost more than 50 people in his family. We met with Batya in the kibbutz where Maoz grew up, and she's lost her daughter, her son-in-law, and her two grandchildren. And these are people who, like us, said, we will not let revenge drive us, and instead we want to see a better future. And it doesn't mean we're not angry. It's very important to say that we are angry, we are upset. I mean, you cannot not be upset at the sight of people being killed. You cannot not be upset at the sight of injustice, at the sight of violence, at the sight of needless killing. But what we've understood is that instead of fighting each other, Maoz and I, that we are on the same side. And that side is the side of equality and the side of justice and the side of working together. And you can choose which side you want to be on. You want to be the side of tribalism, you want to be the side of us versus them, you want to be on the side Israeli or Palestinian, or you want to be on the side of those who believe in equality and justice and peace versus those who don't yet. And so that's really what brought us together. It's our values and it's what we believe in.
Yeah, and I've so appreciated you both in reading your book, which I hope everyone on this call will soon order and get to appreciate as well.
You
And
don't have to be soon. They can
Do it now.
right now. Yeah.
okay, well, but they should listen to you. So right. Okay,
People can
unless you're
multitask.
an exceptional multitasker, wait till after the hour. Um, but no, I so appreciate the way in which you're not asking people to abandon grief and anger. You're saying let's do something different with it.
Yeah.
So speaking of doing something different with it, let's move to speaking concretely about what that looks like. Many of us, I'm sure, have seen, the time that you've spent with both popes now and earlier today or last night with John Stewart. But I would imagine, that is in service of the peace work, but that is not the actual peace work, of course. So what is the actual work of building and being part of a peace movement look like? And we'll of course hear more on this as well in a few minutes from Mika. But I'd love to hear from both of you, Maoz and Inon, on this question. I really appreciated in your book that you speak with great candor that it's hard to be a peacemaker. It's not an easy, glamorous life. Except when you're, at the Vatican. But otherwise, it's not an easy, glamorous life. It's challenging, and you speak about those challenges. So tell us, what does it take to build and maintain and continue to strengthen a peace movement? And what does it mean to be a peace builder?
Yeah, so sometimes it can be, thanks Idit, sometimes it can be very small gestures. Like Aziz shared in the book, that what transformed him from seeking revenge after losing his brother Taisir when Aziz was only 10 years old was a Hebrew teacher in the Ulpan. 8 years after, when Aziz was 18, she was the first Jewish Israelis treating Aziz as a human, smiling to him, welcoming to the class, and saying few words in Arabic. Till that moment, all the Israelis Aziz ever met were soldiers or settlers that dehumanized him. And it's Aziz reaching out to me only 3 days after I lost both my parents and so many of my childhood friends and people I knew my entire life. Just a very simple but courageous a Facebook message offering his condolences. So sometimes it's those small gestures that can transform someone from seeking revenge and believing there is no hope and there's bloodshed is the only future that is possible, to completely transform someone and make him an active peacemaker and a true believer that peace and reconciliation are possible. And then it's a muscle that we can train. And now Aziz and I are trained, but we are also working on it on a daily basis. So we are sharing stories, we are sharing our doubts, and we're also sharing them with others. I think there is no single day I'm not WhatsApping Mika Almog asking for advice or for a recommendation, and it's go both ways. And it's about building a community to understand that we are not alone. We are not alone in this dreaming of a lasting peace. And in the last 2.5 years, I went through a spiritual growth and transformation, and realizing that the most important fields to humanity is not the battlefield, it's also not the political field, but it's the field of dreams. Only in the field of dreams, we can change humanity, we can change reality. And what Aziz and I chose was to position ourselves, and it's very difficult to position ourselves in this dream and go back to and take examples for ancient prophets to Martin Luther King, that were all very courageous and proud that they have a dream. And this is exactly, and soon Mika will share, this is exactly what we are going to achieve April 30th at the People Peace Summit, having thousands and maybe even more Israelis and Palestinians dreaming together, but also acting on the ground between multi organizations and individuals, Palestinian Israelis, sharing the same vision and acting together in order to create hope. And hope is also an action that we can be trained within. We create hope by envisioning a better future and acting on the ground to make this vision into a reality. So I invite you all also to log in to the online events from the People Peace Summit, and even better to come and experience yourself how you will be, hope will be injected into you, and you're really going to be a different activist, a different human being after coming and being with us at the People Peace Summit.
I would disagree with you, Idit, though. Not with you.
Not with me.
Okay.
Okay, not with me.
I would disagree with Idit. I don't think meeting the popes or meeting Jon Stewart or these platforms is not peace activism. It's glamorous, it's fun, but I would say it's extremely important for peace work because peacemakers have been marginalized from the main platforms, whether it's in media or with politicians or in where decision making is happening. And getting peacemakers, Maoz and I and others, to these platforms is extremely important because without making this message a mainstream message, it's an uphill battle. And it's a very hard uphill battle to win. We can't give hope and inspire. To me, Maoz says hope is an action, and to me, hope is an act of resistance. But if people don't see these messages online, what hope do they have? If we're not in every television station, in every TV show, in every big event, then we are losing an opportunity to reach people. And there's a lot of sociology studies that show people follow trend. If they think peace is trendy, they're more likely to show up to the People's Summit. If they think peace is not
so let me
trendy,
refine the question. So yes, I agree, and I didn't mean to make light of it. So yes, that's critical, and it's critical for people to see your
Yes.
work and the work of other peace builders lionized, in the holiest, most exalted spaces on earth and with those who people most admire. Absolutely. And what I was trying to get at is that there is also the
work of the
kind of
day-to-day stuff.
there's also the work that's not in the limelight.
Yes.
There's also the day-to-day grueling work, which is the work that the vast majority of people in every peace movement are engaged in. So I'd love to hear also about that, because that we don't see so much, in the
You're
news.
right. So we've been going to schools, to communities, and talking to them in Israel and Palestine. And not only communities who want to hear from us, sometimes also communities who might not want to hear from us, as long as we can get an opening and a willingness for people to be able to meet with us, we'll go and talk to them, people on the left, people on the right. I think one thing we have decided, we will talk to anybody who's willing to talk to us. We also have decided to help people who are in need. One of the biggest problems in the last 2 years is Palestinian women, for example, being able to go to college, because the financial reality in Palestine has become so dire, where people lost their jobs, people are not able to get jobs. So we started a leadership women program, where it's a scholarship program as well. And this year we so far given 40 scholarships to Palestinian women who are peacemakers, who are learning to be peacemakers with us and going through this leadership program and becoming leaders themselves. And it's very important to say, Maoz and I are not the ones running this program, because you don't need two men to run a program for women leadership, but rather other Palestinian women are doing that. We started the Fawzi Azar House, Beit Fawzi Azar in Nazareth, where it's been an incredible experience of a place where Nazareth has been ignored, even by peacemakers, I have to say, for the last many decades. Palestinian citizens of Israel in general have not been as much engaged with in this issue. Definitely not the ones in Galilee. You have a lot of us in Haifa and Tel Aviv and all, but not in the Galilee. And I think more and more peace organizations now realizing we can't do that. We need the Palestinian citizens of Israel to be successful in this. And so we're doing everything from exhibits to meetings to creating a multi-narrative museum in the place. And so there's a lot of work needed. And honestly, even though we have, I mentioned 80 organization with Itzan Coalition, 180 plus with Olmep. There's so much work that we still unable to do, even collectively. There's so much work that's still lacking. We are still the amount of work we're doing is still small in comparison of what's needed. And this is why it's important for us to be here, to remind everyone that the work we have is kind of what they say, the work for us is cut for us. We have a significant amount of work to do. And you can look at it, there's 180 organizations, or you can look at it and say, wow, there's so much work that those 180 organizations barely able to even so far get to where we need to be. But as we work more and more together, we are able to go there. And that's where Maoz started. None of us, not one organization, can do this work alone. People will tell me and Maoz, oh, why aren't you guys doing this and this and that? And we're like, no, we can't do everything. That's why we need partners. That's why we need friends. That's why we need to partner with people like Mika, with people like Combatants for Peace, with people like Parent Circle, with people like Healing Across the Divides. We work with all these groups, and we made sure, by the way, the book doesn't only tell Maoz and my story. That would be a failure if that's what it did, but rather tell the stories of others in the peace movement and encourage others to check that work and realize anyone who says me alone can fix this, you should walk away from them and not support them, because that's bullshit.
All right. Let's move to turn the conversation to Mika as another critical voice for the peace movement. You will all also start to see that our team will be sharing links to the various events that I and Maoz Inon have mentioned so far, as well, of course, to how you can get a copy of this book yourself. Not now, but in 32 minutes. All right. So Mika, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Mika is the content director of the It's Time Peace Coalition, as we said earlier. She's a longtime spokesperson and a public figure advocating for peace in Israel. Mika, you have hosted the joint Israeli-Palestinian memorial service in the past. You've spoken out against the occupation. You've written about the necessity of finding an alternative to war, and so much more. And you've paid a personal price for your views. And we know that we find ourselves in a different moment now, a moment with new challenges, and we hope new opportunities for a growing peace movement. And so that's what I'd love to talk about together. So first, help us understand, what is the It's Time Peace Coalition and movement? How has it evolved since its creation? Do you see hope for the peace camp to grow? The data over the past 6 weeks during the Iran war of the significant majority of Israelis that reported supporting the war got a lot of attention in the United States. And so in light of that kind of input coming towards us as well, tell us, how do you see the current reality as shaping the Israeli public's willingness or not to engage, not just with the idea of peace, but with the practice of peace?
First of all, shout out to my brothers from other mothers, Maoz and Aziz. We miss you back home. Glad you're doing such great work on your tour. And thank you to NIF, not only for this session and this opportunity to share our work, but also for your support of It's Time, which is very, very significant. I want to say something just first of all relating to the day, because it is Holocaust Memorial Day, and it so happens that tomorrow is my father's birthday, and he will turn 82. And he was born on a farm in Dordogne in the south of France when the end of World War II was nowhere to be seen. And when he grew, he asked his mother, he had an older brother, so she already had a child, and he asked his mother, why did you have me during these dark times when you were hiding and in constant danger? And his mother said, I had so much love in my heart. If I would not have given it, I would have exploded, and that would have been worse. So, even in the darkest of time, at the end of the day, choosing love and choosing the expression of love can really point to the future. And I'll add one more thing, which is that when we say the future, we tend to think in long term, but the future also has short periods of time, okay? By 7 p.m., we will be at the end, it's in the future now, at the end of this Zoom, we may be slightly changed than we are right now. So when we talk about the future, you know, the big questions are always what's going to happen decades and decades, or, well, in Israel, if you can figure out what's going to happen in 30 seconds, it's a good day. Okay. But I'm just saying, you know, when we talk about reshaping the future, the two are combined, the very long term and the very short term, and they affect one another. Having said that, I would like to sort of very briefly lay out what It's Time is about, and then give you an outline of what's going to happen on April 30th at the People's Peace Summit, at the 2026 People's Peace Summit. And then I'd love to, you know, pursue questions. So, you know, either from you, Idit, or from the audience. So It's Time is a coalition of over 80 peace organizations, the vast majority of which are Israeli organizations, but we do have quite a few crossover organizations that have, or cross-border organizations. We first came together in July of 2025 when we had a huge peace event in a basketball stadium, and everyone thought we were nuts, but we sold out. And had 6,000 Israelis and Palestinians calling for peace. And later we had many activities. I won't, you know, spend our time on that. But last May we had the first People's Peace Summit in Jerusalem, where we had 2 days. One day was events all over the city at various venues all through Jerusalem, and the second day was held at the International Conference Center, which is A, Jerusalem's largest venue, B, a place that has come to be unfortunately identified with the extreme right in Israel. And so the fact that we were able to bring 8,000 Israelis and Palestinians to this specific location was once again a demonstration of one of our central theories of change, which is that the peace camp in Israel is actually significantly wider, deeper, and more diverse than it appears to be. They just haven't been given an opportunity to express it in a really long time. And what we aspire eventually is not to have one big event each year. We aspire to have a big event each year, but to have that big event be both the peak of certain processes that we're accompanying and a launch pad for the processes that will begin from there. And this year, I'm happy to say that since the past People's Peace Summit and this People's Peace Summit, we've made significant progress with that. And what that means is that in addition to having the coalitions work, we have what we call, I'm missing the word in English, eshkolot. It's like what groups of subjects, okay? So one of them is education, and one of them is protective presence, and one of them is mental health. And we were able to hold a convention on education for peace, humanism, and democracy. I'm just going to say bye to my kid. Are you going? Yeah. Okay, I love you. Okay, so, and this was a conference that we held in Tel Aviv, and it was a cooperation between 20 of It's Time organizations that deal with issues regarding education from various angles. And we were hoping to get 200 educators come out, and 300 came out. And other than the fact that we were a little short on lunch, it was really fantastic. And we had a protective presence gathering at this, very cool venue in Tel Aviv. And again, we got about twice the number of people that we thought we were going to have. I think there were like 250 or 200 people there who met a panel of representatives from protective presence organizations. And again, this was a cooperation between 7 organizations, because just to clarify, excuse my hoarseness, I talk all the time, okay? So just to clarify, It's Time is not a new peace organization. We don't need another peace organization. It's Time is strictly a mechanism for allowing the existing organizations in these existing initiatives to work together, so that the work that is done between one summit and the next that bring all 80 organizations together still has one rule. It has to be an inter-organizational cooperation. And we had a third event planned. Generally, the plan is to have these 3 smaller events throughout the year leading up to the summit each year. And hopefully we can also have some, projects that last. Anyway, I won't go into all of it, but we did have a third event planned having to do with mental health, but fuck this war. It got postponed because we couldn't bring people together. So it's not good for our mental health. But once again, this was another event that was planned in cooperation with various organizations within the coalition and assisted by us, whether it be in planning, whether it be in financial support, obviously, production, etc. So that's where things stand. And I think, and at this point, I would like to tell you a little bit more about the People's Peace Summit on April 30th. And I think that this is a good connection, because for our slogan for the 2026 People's Peace Summit, we've chosen the הכרחי, the אפשרי, the יקרה. It must be, it can be, it will be. And so as we ramp up our activity and our action, which is all action on the ground, okay? These are not academic gatherings, okay? We don't discuss theories of educating for peace. These are all actionable plans that are being put out there on the field. And same goes for everything else. So the idea for this summit is that it's not about yearning for peace. It's about introducing to the public in Israel the people who are making it happen right now, okay? And this doesn't contradict dreaming, and it doesn't contradict long-term planning, but the settlers, they don't wait for things to change. They go and they put up another caravan, okay? And so we need to find our caravans to put up, to place facts on the ground. And that's, I think, more and more is what its time is trying to be about. And another thing that I will mention is that we are entering an election year, and that obviously has a great presence in our work as well. I object when people say, don't mix peace with politics. It's ridiculous. It's all political, and so we have a great awareness of that too. And I recently published an op-ed in Haaretz magazine, which I wanted them to call "The Public is Not an Avocado," but they changed my headline. And the reason I wanted them to call it "The Public is Not an Avocado" is because we're constantly being told that the Israeli public isn't ripe. Okay, it's not ripe for peace. It's not ripe for Jewish Arab political cooperation. The public does not ripen because it's not an avocado. Okay, so what you need to do is present the public with peace as a realistic option. And I also mentioned that I hope that our political opposition can see the work that civil society is doing, and see, at its time, this is the kind of cooperation that can help us get over the fragmentism that is one of our greatest weaknesses. And if our political leadership, the opposition, could get together, okay, and work with the kind of unprecedented cooperation that's happening right now within the organizations of its time, we would be in much, much better shape. So it must be, it can be, it will be April 30th between 12 and 6 p.m. At the Expo in Tel Aviv. Between 12 and 6 p.m. we're going to have 6 halls with content. 4 of them will have panels and screenings of films and conversations. We'll be discussing Political solutions. We'll be discussing security. We'll be discussing the situation on the ground in Gaza, the situation on the ground in the West Bank, including settler violence. We'll be discussing education. We'll be discussing leadership, and many more topics. One of the 4 halls is entirely English speaking. We called it Make Diplomacy Great Again. And there we will have a panel. We have about 120 diplomats from all over the world confirmed to come to the summit. So they will also have this hall where we will be, and I will also tell you, okay, no, I shouldn't. Okay, I was going to say it's a certain person we got to give us an interview, but no, you'll have to watch on April 30th. So that's what happens. Oh, and in addition to that, we also have one hall where there's going to be live podcasts all day. For example, Moshe Radman, one of the leaders of the pro-democracy movement, who has a very popular podcast, will be podcasting from our studio. And we have a family and children zone called Raising Children in the Light, which we had at the previous summit, and it was a huge hit, where we have the Almina Theater that does bilingual Hebrew-Arabic children's show and activities for kids, based on another part of our theory of change, which is multiple entry points. So if you want to come with your kids, and then there's an option to do that. We had people last year who came and spent the entire day with their kids in the family zone, and it was fantastic for them. That's up until 6 o'clock. And then and also throughout the day, there's going to be an organizational fair in the public area. And we also have truly fantastic artwork that is being made especially for the summit, one by Broken Fingers, one by amazing Palestinian artist Mahmoud. Oh, I'm forgetting his name. It'll come to me in a moment. So, and this is all art that's there to express the theme of the summit. It must be, it can be, it will be peace.
Wow,
and at 7 p.m.
Sorry, finish your sentence, then I'll say.
I'm not done yet. And at 7 p.m. we'll have the main event, which I can take a break and then tell you about the main event.
Yeah, why don't we invite Maoz and Aziz back into the conversation? Then you can tell us more about the main event. That sounds absolutely tremendous. And if I trust that there are many others on this call who, like me, cannot be there in person that day, but know that it will be broadcast, so it will be available.
Yes.
It will be available to you. So I would love to hear briefly about the main event, and then invite everyone to share a question that I have, and a question that many people on this call have asked in different ways in the chat, which is how to persuade a skeptic that peace is possible. It's easy to persuade people that peace is desirable because it's desirable to all but the most warmongering among us. But how to persuade people who have experienced what so many in the region have experienced, that it is possible.
Who do you want to?
Yeah, we can start and let you rest a bit, Mika. First, so I will start that in our book, in the Future is Peace, we are also sharing the roadmap to peace. We believe that we will achieve peace by 2030. But it will achieve that only if each one of us will act in order to bring this future into a reality. And one of the most important chapters of the roadmap is to amplify the voices of peace. Because when we are silent, others speak in our name. So we need to be very proud that we have a dream, and very honored that we have amazing partners, and to be very loud in order to everyone to hear that peace is coming. And by creating momentum, by building legitimacy to peace, by saying that all conflicts end in the end. This is, again, something we prove again and again in the Future is Peace. All conflict end in the end. There are only 2 questions in it that we should ask ourselves. When and how many lives will be lost? But the history proves that those who believe that war will defend, that bombs will bring quiet, and war will bring security, they are the naive. They are the one that been failing all over. And for me, that I lost my parents on October 7th, only 200 meters, less than quarter a mile from the most invested barrier humanity ever built, I can vouch that those who built this wall were naive. Only through dialogue, only through negotiation, only through looking to each other in the eye will achieve the future we all deserve. So to the skeptical, I will tell them, read the history books. Read The Future is Peace. And you will learn once again that the only way to achieve peace is first to believe that it's going to happen, and then to act in order to make it into our reality.
Yeah, I think in every conflict in the world that you can look at, in the midst of it, people had the same question you just asked. Is like, look, things are terrible. How do you want us to move there? And I've worked in many of these conflicts. I was in Northern Ireland in the last few years, many times, met with people who used violence, believed in violence, people who are murderers, people who were victims of the violence. I've been in Colombia and the same thing, met with people who were involved in the violence and victims, went to South Africa, went to Rwanda, went to all these conflict zones. And if you've asked anybody, literally a month before a peace agreement was signed, they would have said, it's impossible. Look, there are crimes happening. There are war crimes happening. There are genocides happening in some of these places. How do you expect for peace to ever prevail in a place like Rwanda? How do you expect people to actually be together as neighbors? How do you expect in Northern Ireland? I mean, the British government called the IRA terrorists, and the nationalists in Northern Ireland didn't want to be part of Britain, and they called it occupation and colonization and all of that. The gaps were significant, hundreds of years of conflict, and yet they understood at some point, and what I was told in many of these places, people got weary of the war, people got weary of the violence, and they realized we got to work together to make an end, and that it's a responsibility of each one of us. I think the moment they realize it's not the politicians who are going to just do it on their own, we have to make it happen. And we can't wait for a good politician. Even if Netanyahu's government falls tomorrow, I'm sorry to say, but Bennett is not, the Messiah that everyone is waiting for, and he's going to be like the peace dove guy. And there's no way you're going to get rid of Hamas, as we already know from the last 2 years, completely. And we have the Palestinian Authority, who's I'm not a fan at all of. But we're going to work with these guys. We're not going to wait for somebody perfect, but it's up to us to push them to get there. It's up to us to make sure it doesn't matter who's a politician, that they understand you can't continue in this path. That's a way forward. And we take on leadership. So everyone who is here need to know it's up to you. It's our responsibility. It's the action. Do you amplify those voices every day? Do you legitimize these voices for peace every day? Are you involved in peace work every day? Are you pushing for justice and for accountability every day? Are you being what Maoz said in the beginning, making gestures on a daily basis, making sure that everyone you know, everyone you meet, everyone you come across understands what this work is? It's not just, oh, I believe in peace and I do nothing about it. It needs to be in every part of our life, in our businesses, in our work, in our home. It's something we can't just leave to once a month or even once a year or once every event or conference rooms. It's something we practice daily.
Thank you. So I want to invite Mika to answer this question as well, if you wish. And sorry, hold on one second. And just because time is getting tight, I'm going to put out a couple of the questions from the group for you and or others to integrate into your responses. So one circles back to a question asked earlier about how we understand the Israeli public's or the majority of the Israeli public's reported support for the war in Iran, and kind of how we understand that in light of the push and the opportunity for a growing peace movement. And secondly, many have asked, what can those of us who are part of the global Jewish community in the States, in Canada, in Europe, elsewhere, what can we do?
I would like to suggest that the majority of Israelis are not skeptical or adverse to peace. I think they don't have an opinion. Over 50% of Israelis are under 29. Over 50%, and this is both Arab, Palestinian Israelis and Jewish Israelis, under 29, over 50%. With the Palestinians, they're under 21, okay? So that there is an entire generation of Israel of fully grown adults, many of whom already have families of their own, born in the 90s and onwards, who were never given a chance to even consider peace. Okay, I'm 50 years old. In the background of my childhood and adolescence, there was a peace process, and they argued about it, and there was a question of when and where and what we should be willing to sacrifice and what sacrifices should be avoided. But there was a sweeping consensus saying that Israel is a peace-seeking country, and where our current this regime has taken us is to a place of questioning the very essence of who we are. And so I think it is impossible to look at a people that has had no opportunity to consider the subject and then expect them to have an opinion. You know, there's an entire people here that's been trapped in a sandbox for 30 years, and so they have very solid opinions, you know, about soft sand and hard sand and you know, wet sand and you know, whatever. But you know, now you say, but what's your opinion about grass? Well, how should I know? So, you know, of course 90% of Israelis support the war with Iran. What other option have they been given to support? Okay, when our opposition stands up and salutes, you know, the Iran war, what can you support? And you know, this has been between the national trauma of the assassination of Rabin in 1995 and the national trauma of October 2023 is an entire generation that doesn't know what we're talking about. Okay, they don't know what we're talking about. So, you know, we can't expect them to form an opinion about something they have that has not been in public discussion for 30 years, and not by accident, but by means of a very, very effective machine that stoops to everything and stops at nothing to remove it from the conversation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so what, you know, the way to get someone is, first of all, tell them that it's an option. I was in Bejala this morning recording Palestinians who won't be allowed to join us. So we shot them on green screen. We're going to bring them on the screen. How many young Israeli voters have met, you know, Amira or Saeed? How would they know? So, you know, that's, first of all, what it's about is it's not about saying before this. Before you ask people to support something, you got to tell them what it is.
Yeah, I think your metaphor of the sandbox is so on point, and I'll be using it in conversations that I'll be having, and I will cite you. So thank you for that.
I'd love to answer the support question too.
Okay, can you do that briefly?
Yes, support us.
Because I was told we have to end on time. Go ahead.
There's many ways. Go to our website. It's called Time Is Now because its time was taken. Time is now, and reach out to us. And you know, we're all about partnerships. The more, the better.
Amazing.
Yeah, and Aziz and I are touring the US now, and Idit, you will send later an email where all the places we're gonna be.
And read the book. The book is amazing.
Thank you, Mika. So, because the American people and the American administration for so many years is also supporting only war. It's sending weapons to Israel, but not sending any budget for reconciliation initiatives, for shared life initiatives. And it's up to you. It's up to you to change the policies if you are in America, if you are in Europe, anywhere you are. So within your Congress members, within your politicians, within your Jewish leaders in your communities, the rabbis and the clerics. Push them to support peace and remind them there are only two orders in Judaism that we must pursue. And it's not the Shabbat, and it's not kosher food or Yom Kippur. We must pursue justice and peace. This is the essence of Judaism. And in order to achieve that and to fulfill the essence of Judaism, we must bring peace to our land. We must do it, and we can do it, and we will do it. And we'll do it with you. We cannot do it on our own. We're going to do it together.
Amen, amen. Listening to you, I'm reminded also of words that I think of often from Mandela, in which he famously said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." And I hear that echoed
Amen.
by each of you. So thank you so much, Aziz, Maoz, and Mika. We began our conversation with Yom HaShoah and talking about a season that is marked by memory and by grief, by the demands of history, and importantly, its lessons for our present. And we heard from each of you how this time presents us with the choice of a different path. We've heard from you that peace isn't an abstract concept. Peace isn't a naive notion. Peace is concrete action. Peace is being built by people at this very moment, by partnerships and by movements. It is necessary, and really, it is the only way forward. At the New Israel Fund, we are deeply proud to stand every day with Maoz, Aziz, and Mika, and the many others, Israelis and Palestinians, who continue to stretch across divides, sometimes painfully, who continue to insist that another reality is possible. We want to encourage each of you who are here with us today to become a part of the Peace Camp if you aren't already. And as we have said, in the next several weeks, we have so many powerful opportunities sponsored and co-sponsored by the New Israel Fund for you to stay engaged. You'll receive all of that information in your follow-up email to this gathering and in future communications. And if you felt inspired by what you heard today,
And buy the book. Go now.
I will
now.
say that too. But
Okay.
if you felt inspired by what you heard
The
today,
president of Crown is just watching us, and he's telling them
you
to
should
buy
buy
the
the
book.
book. You should
Yeah.
buy the book. We'll include information about that as well in our follow-up. And I
Actually,
hope that you will continue to spread Aziz, Maoz, and
don't
Mika's.
only buy the book, also it's really equally important to review the book online on Goodreads and Amazon, any of the places you know online. Books that don't get reviews, nobody buys them.
Very
And
true.
so
And
it's
if you missed
equally
it,
important.
yes, what Aziz said, and if you missed it, the New York Times had a very powerful book review that can get you inspired in yesterday's Times.
Yes.
I also want to thank each of you who are here with us who already support the New Israel Fund. It is because of you that activists and leaders like today's three speakers and organizations advancing
We are-
peace have
we
the
are going.
resources they need to do this work. And if you aren't yet an NIF supporter, I hope today inspired you to become one and to join us today and help strengthen this important work. So in closing, as we remember the devastation of the Shoah today, we carry forward the lessons of that time. Never again, not for us and not for anyone. That is how we honor those we lost, by turning memory into action and demanding, as Maoz and Aziz tell us in the title of their book, the future is peace. It can only be peace. Thank you for being with us.